This is Scotto with tutorialstop.com. I'm going to show you guys how to create the famous Web 2.0 logo reflection. I'm going to go ahead and do a file new. I'm inside Photoshop. I'm just going to do 640 by 480, 72 resolution, white background. So there we go. From here, I'm going to get my text tool and come out and just click onto that white background and type in a name. Now I have Slumpy. If you haven't noticed, the Web 2.0 logos or company names always seem to be something totally bizarre, and I think Slumpy will fit in nicely. They also seem to use nice rounded fonts, and what I used was a Arial rounded, so I just used a nice Arial rounded bold font, and most of the Web 2.0 logos seem to be using a nice rounded, softer type of font, such as Arial rounded. And so there's our logo. I want to change that to green, so I'm going to double click the little T here in my layers palette and come down to my swatches palette. Just choose green. If you don't see these palettes, you can always go to Window up at the top and find your layers and your swatches palette there. For your layers palette, you can always hit F7. So there is my Slumpy text. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate that layer. I'm just going to grab that layer and drag it down to the little icon next to the trash can, and that'll duplicate it. There you see it's Slumpy Copy. I'm going to rename it to Slumpy Reflection, and that is going to be my reflection. Next thing, make sure you have Slumpy Reflection layer selected. I'm going to do Control T to transform this, or you can always go to Edit, Free Transform, either way. I'm just going to drag this below, and there's a nice reflected layer. I'm going to hit Enter. You can see there's the layer. It's being reflected, but now we're going to add a layer mask to give it more realism. Make sure the Slumpy Reflection layer is selected. Click on your layer mask. Down below on your layers palette, it looks like a little white circle. Make sure your foreground and background colors are black and white. Get your gradient tool, and I'm going to start it back here. It's going to fade it out. I'm going to hold down my Shift key as I drag this up to keep it a nice straight line. Drag it up to right about there. You can see now I got a nice gradual fade effect. Now most of the Web 2.0 logos have just a barely hint of a reflection, so I think I'm going to redo this. Start actually right in here and come up. So there we go. So you can see it's just kind of a small little reflection there. And what I could always do is come up to the opacity of this layer here and dip that down just a slight bit. And you can see that now there is just a slight hint of the reflection. Bring that up just a little bit more. Now you can always, if you wanted to give it a little give it a little a blur. Notice how these are all grayed out. It's because it's a text layer. So I'll just come over here and right click on that layer and choose to rasterize the type. And now I can go to Filter and Blur, and now I'm just going to do a Gaussian blur here. Slight, maybe 5. Click OK. Just give it a little bit of blur, and there you go. There's the wonderful Web 2.0 blur or reflection effect. Let's see what this looks like with a black background. So I'm going to come to my background layer and Alt backspace it, and you can see very faint, but it's there. And if you take a look at a lot of the Web 2.0 logos out there, same thing, very faint, but there it is.